What's good, YouTube? It is DEFCON TCG, and I'm here after the conclusion of the first TGS Tinley Park monthly tournament. And it was that Quad Lily tournament. I ended up doing pretty well, but I'm not going to spoil how well I did. So, appreciate you guys watching. Let's get into it.
Pass. That's not good.
Alright, getting into round one of the Lilies tournament. Unfortunately for my opponent, they go Latias pass here. Into my pretty good hand, I get the Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking plus the Ditto Start to pair with my Kangaskhan. So I'm able to get pretty much whatever I want. I'm able to Buddy Pop and get the full board. Pass, my opponent passes, and I have Ultra Ball plus the Jet Energy to go for game. And we're going to go straight into game two here. So, pretty funny back-to-back. Freddy gets a really terrible hand here. Freddy's a pretty solid senior player in our area. He's got his World's Invite twice, regional top 8. So, he knows what he's doing. So, unfortunately, wasn't able to play out that first game one hand, but he's able to get the really good start here on the second game with the Rotom for triple Noctowl and the full setup here. And on my turn, I have not the greatest hand ever. I'm here to get this turn one Fan Rotom, the Ultra Ball for the turn one Fan Rotom here. It's a little bit of glare from where we were sitting, but this was kind of like the best area for me to set up my camera. So be able to get these three guys over here to be able to search off of that fan call ability, get the Ditto, the Pidgey, and the Baneri. So I'm able to at least set up an okay board. And then I get the Ditto for the transformative start into Kangaskhan, which allows me to draw those two more cards. And I end up getting a Cypher Maniacs here off of the Run Errand. So I can use the Cypher Maniacs to set up for next turn. And then I do actually have a small misplay here. So when I was using my Cypher Maniacs, I was just assuming that, you know what I mean? I was just going to be able to use this Cypher and then use the Run Errand to draw these two cards off the top next turn. But what I did not account for is that my opponent could Iono me, and then I would be able to draw both of these cards. So what I did is I stacked a Pidgeot and I stacked a what did I stack here? I stacked Pidgeot and something else that wasn't as meaningful towards my hand because my assumption was going to be, okay, I can quick search for Pidgeot and then I can just use the Pidgeot to grab Lily's Determination. But what I think I should have probably done there is just stack the Lilies and the Pidgeot so then I could use the quick search after the Pidgeot. So a little bit of a sequencing misplay there, but my opponent does get this turn 1 Pidgeot, which is pretty crazy, or this turn 2 Pidgeot. It'd be really crazy to get turn 1 Pidgeot, right? And so that lets them get the Burning Charge off with the Noctowl, and the Noctowl's going to be able to tutor whatever two cards he wants because he has that Terror Pokemon in play, so getting that Area 0 plus the Nest Ball. So the Nest Ball is going to grab the next thing that Freddy's going to want to power up, which is going to be this Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. Thankfully for my deck, I do have this pretty big HP Pokemon in the Kangaskhan that allows it so that my opponent's Torrential Pumps get a little bit less value. It's going to be knocking out a one-prize Pokemon on my bench, but then my active is only going to be taking 100 damage. Thankfully, I think Freddy's hand wasn't strong enough to get the full combo. I think he just didn't want to waste another Noctowl in case I had a Rare Candy Dusknoir, so if he evolves into the second Noctowl to get his playoff, and then I'm able to Dusknoir his third Noctowl, or his third Hoot Hoot, then he doesn't have a super great play for the next turn. But maybe if he's able to extend into Ogerpon potentially, because he used the attachment here on Flareon, maybe if you get the Torrential Pump and knock off the Duskull, it's fine if you only have one more Hoot Hoot. It requires a lot more from me to be able to get my attack off, because I think that you're maybe not as worried about the Baneri evolving if you're knocking out the Duskull, because then at least you have the follow-up with your Hoot Hoot. If you do knock out Baneri, I guess, then I can go like Duskull. I actually have double Baneri down, so it actually doesn't even do anything. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I think maybe if you overextend into the Water Pond here, knock out the Duskull, it's fine because you still have the next Hoot Hoot. And then my hand has to be, like, really, really crazy to be able to get, like, the full combo off. Alright, and then I go for the Lily's Determination here. And I don't stack the Pidgey. Oh, I lied. I prized the Pidgey this game, so I'm actually not even able to get Pidgeot off. I don't know what I'm talking about over here. But, okay, so I get the Lily's Determination. Lily's Determination is going to grab me Nest Ball for Bidoof because, unfortunately, yeah, I think this is where I add this little thing here. So I had a note to myself while editing, and the timestamps for these edits are going to be a little bit messed up because I up the speed. What I should have done is up the speed and then added the edits after, but there's a play on the next turn that I think would have been a little bit better from Freddy. But I get a pretty good clapback turn here where I get the jamming tower down and then I do this active Noctowl. So it's either going to force the Pidgeot to search the Jet Energy if Freddy's not holding it currently. So I think this is a pretty good force for my opponent to kind of make them burn a turn on just knocking out my Bidoof. And we see just that. See the Jet Energy for the Flareon, or Jet Energy for the Pidgeot to be able to put the Fan Rotom back into the active. What I think I would have liked to see here is either Jet Energy to Flareon and then Burning Charge attached to the Ogerpon, because on my next turn, in order to future-proof my board, I would have to evolve Dusclops into Dusknoir, I'd have to evolve Baneri into the Mega Lopunny, and that's off of, I think I got 6 cards in hand, and then I get the draw for turn plus the Kangaskhan draw, so I have 9 cards to get 2 evolutions in play. Oh, excuse me. And I think worst case scenario, then if I hit into the Flareon or even knock it out with the Dusclops, then Freddy goes down to 4 prizes, and then he's able to go for a Water Pond play by searching Boss's Order off Pidgeot, and then knocking out the Fan Rotom, and then putting 100 damage on the Kangaskhan, putting him to 3 prizes, and there's 170 damage on Kangaskhan with a benched Flareon, potentially, if I don't knock it out. If I do knock it out, then yeah, he goes to 3 off of my Dusclops. Kangaskhan is now at 130 HP, so now it's a sitting duck for potential Blood Moon later in the game, because off of that play, I will be taking 2 prizes, so it'll put me down to 4. So maybe we could see like a preemptive attached to the Blood Moon plus maybe a Sob play to kind of hold me down in the active. Therefore, like if I then I have to use like Prime Catcher to like either hit into something on his bench or force a knockout that he doesn't want me to like knock out. Like if I knock out Ogerpon, it's basically game, because then this has 170 damage on it. Ogerpon dies, I go to 2 prizes, and then he has Blood Moon plus attach, and then bosses up Kangaskhan and wins the game from there. So I think there's maybe another line he could have done from there. And then we see Kangaskhan come up. I draw 2 cards. I draw a Dusknoir plus Jet Energy, which is pretty 2 nasty cards. Get the Pheasantipity down, draw 3 more cards. I actually draw Turo here, which is pretty crazy. The Turo is going to either allow me to heal up this Kangaskhan, but it's not too crazy for Freddy to power up his Flareon this turn, so I don't want to leave the Kangaskhan in the active. I'm going to just take the 1 prize knockout with Fan Rotom, and then use the Turo to heal my Kangaskhan off the bench. It's going to pick it up, and I'm going to use this Nest Ball, and I think I just grab another copy of Duskull here. I think if I go like Dusknoir, pop Hoot Hoot, bench. Okay, maybe I don't agree with this a ton. I think maybe if I use the Dusknoir to pop the Ogerpon, or I use the Dusknoir to pop Hoot Hoot on the bench here is another line I could have maybe done. Is I go use Dusknoir, pop Hoot Hoot, bench Skull, and then use Fan Rotom to take a knockout on the active. I believe Freddy goes to 3 and I go to 2, and then he has to use Pidgeot to attack with Flareon into my active. But I guess that also does leave me a little bit weak to Water Pond, because then I have Fan Rotom, Baneri, and I have a Skull down, which means that Freddy can go to 1 prize if I use Duskull. So yeah, I think maybe actually the line that I go for here is a little bit better, because then if I even bench another Duskull and Freddy takes 2 prizes, then I don't even get to use my Duskull. So I think this Duskull is Dusclops is very important for me to win. So I think the play I actually do in the turn is better. But yeah, I see the Noctowl is going to grab Crispin plus the Sparkling Crystal. And then, yeah, my opponent Freddy here is just going to go for that torrential pump to knock out my Fan Rotom and probably my Baneri and go to 2 prizes here. So it's looking pretty rough. I'm still at 5, and then if I use my Dusknoir, then it's going to put down Freddy down to 1 prize, which is pretty bad, because then that means that he can use Blood Moon Ursaluna plus a Boss's Order on Pheasantipity for game. And the Night Stretcher here is also really good to be able to get back that Hoot Hoot to put additional pressure down for Noctowls. So now I have 2 main targets I want to kill on the following turn. Like if I'm able to knock out Pidgeot and Hoot Hoot, it's probably just game, but it's not looking super great here for me. And let's see, I get the draw for turn. I get the jamming tower, which is pretty nice to be able to stop the gravity mountain from lowering my Pokemon's HP. I don't know how much that matters, but just being able to have the jamming tower bump for the sparkling crystal to nullify that is really good because I think Freddy's already down 2 stadiums. Just taking a look at my discard pile, see what I want to do. I think my ideal play here is to try to knock out Pidgeot, and I get that or not the Baneri, the Lopunny EX a little bit late there. I think this is the point of the game where I'm just going to kind of thin as many cards out of my deck as I can. And yeah, I Ultra Ball there for the Blood Moon Ursaluna. That's going to probably be my backup attacker to try to win the game. I'm really probably looking for like an Iono here. Freddy does have a lot of cards. I'm also maybe looking for a Gusting card to maybe try to knock out Pidgeot. Let's see. I use the Dusknoir. Dusknoir's going to pop Hoot Hoot. I take a prize. Freddy takes a prize. I get the Pidgeot off the prize there, which is pretty nice. So maybe I could have saved the Ultra Ball for before I would use the Dusknoir in case I do rip the Pidgeot off the prize, because then here I could potentially go for a Ultra Ball for the Pidgey, and then I can use Rare Candy Pidgeot for next turn, and then use Iono plus get a knockout. Because I think here what I'm missing is the energy card. So I think I'm going to go for the Badoo, which Badoo feels a little bit lackluster here into a Pidgeot, especially because I think Freddy can kind of just go like quick search for the Jet Energy and then smack into whatever my active is and then set up another attacker and then boss kill whatever my active is, because if I give him a prize, then I can't use a Duskull for the next turn. So I think, yeah, using that Ultra Ball a little bit early is going to maybe bite me here because, like, yeah, I could have had the Rare Candy for Pidgeot next turn to be able to toot or whatever I wanted. Yeah, missing the energy there is pretty huge because now Freddy basically gets a free turn into my 4-prize board. Or I have 4 prizes left, he has 2, so he basically gets to just weaken something on my board. He can also just, like, potentially sob my active if he has Stadium Bump, and then set up for a Carnelian on the following turn, because 20 plus that... how much does Carnelian do? I'm pretty sure it does 280. So yeah, 280 plus 20 is going to be that perfect 300 damage math. Alright, well, I guess there was one little mini clip that I forgot to mute, so it was like 5 seconds. So hopefully that wasn't able to destroy your eardrums. But let's get back into it here. See Freddy go for the Pidgeot. Pidgeot's going to go for Jet Energy, and then we're going to see the Burning Charge onto... Actually, I lied. Freddy goes for the Boss's Order onto the Duskull, putting him to 1 prize. And this is a very scary board for me to deal with currently. Freddy's at 2 prizes now, I believe. So I can't really bench a 1-prizer because then it leaves Freddy open to potentially Briar me. Let's see, I draw 3 cards, and I do draw Iono there, which is pretty solid. I think my only game plan here to win is, like, gusting up the Eevee and KOing it, while also not getting boss Carnelian on my Pheasantipity. So it's like pretty rough. I'm looking at my deck. I'm like, man, there's a lot of energy in here. But Freddy's at 2 prizes. Like I said, like I have that Pidgey in the deck. I didn't get Iono'd last turn. So yeah, using that Ultra Ball preemptively definitely hurts my chances of winning this game because I could have had a Pidgey plus Rare Candy Pidgeot. So let's see what I end up getting here. I benched the Blood Moon Ursaluna. And then I benched Latias as well because I figure, well, I already have Pheasantipity down, so it doesn't really matter if he has Energy Boss because I lose anyway. This way I at least have a little bit more flexibility on my board. And then I just go for the Iono here. So I'm really hoping for a Counter Catcher or a Prime Catcher as well as a Jet Energy. And I don't get the Jet Energy here, but I do at least get the energy off of that Kangaskhan draw. So top billion cards, I finally find an energy card, which is good. And I think this turn, I'm just going to have to settle for hitting into this Flareon, which doesn't feel super great because I don't have a super clean way of just knocking it out the following turn. I could potentially use... Okay, yeah, so use a quick search for Cyrano. I just thought the edit was a little bit choppy, so I wanted to include that in there. But it is really rough because I didn't want to put down a Duskull, because if I put down Duskull, then I can potentially just get like Briared, which is pretty bad. If Freddy has something like Boss's Order, leave my guy in the active and then Briar the next turn. Well, I guess maybe I don't have to worry about Briar as much if he's not able to retreat. But yeah, so this is looking pretty bad, all things considered. Let's see. So I think I retreat into my. Let's see. What do I want to do here? Yep, I retreat into the Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan's going to draw me 2 cards. I draw a Lily Jet. But I think the nice thing is here is that Freddy does not have access to another boss. I believe he's down 2. So my hope here is kind of just wall up with my little guys and hope for the best. Grab Duskull here, because I can still potentially win off of like a Blood Moon plus Duskull play, or a... Yeah, so I see the Jet Energy for the Blood Moon here. Boom. And yeah, especially this turn, I think I want to... Okay, so Ultra Ball away, Duskull, and the Rare Candy. And I don't grab the Pidgeot. I'm just going to use the Pidgey. I'm just going to use the Lily's Determination here. All right. Unfortunately for me, Freddy does have that final copies of Boss's Order to be able to take the knockout on to pretty much whatever he wants. So we're going to game 3. So I get the pretty good start here. Able to use Buddy Poffin. Buddy Poffin's going to give me that Fan Rotom and then that Klefki as well. Unfortunately, the rest of my hand is pretty dead, so I'm going to have to spend this Switch plus the Ditto onto drawing some more cards, so I have to forego the second Baneri, but I think I'm fine because that Klefki's ability is going to be able to shut off opposing Fan Rotom from the EV deck, so hopefully it'll buy me a turn or two before Freddy can get set up to kind of use some of these run errands to draw some more cards. But the deck plays a lot of switching cards, so hopefully off of these 2 cards, I can hopefully find either another switching card or a Jet Energy or a Draw Support. It's something to kind of keep me going for the following turn. So I'm going to hand back this deck to Freddy. He's going to give it a cut, and then I'm going to draw 2 cards. It's going to be Jet Energy and a Dusknoir. Nothing too crazy because I don't have a Duskull down currently, because my board is kind of filled with other stuff, and it's going to let me play the game. And I'm going to pass it over here. Freddy's going to go. And unfortunately for me, Freddy does open a copy of Boss's Order in his hand to be able to get around that lock. He's going to use the Boss Order on my Baneri and then able to use that Fan Call to search out the rest of his guys. And unfortunately, it just kind of gets worse for me here. Freddy's hand is going to consist of a Stadium and a Jet Energy to be able to knock out my lone Baneri, which is pretty rough, considering that it's my only Baneri, so I don't have a really viable attacker for the following turn aside from potentially Fan Rotom. But it also leaves a Klefki on my board that isn't going to really be doing anything for the time being. And then I think I top decked the Lope Bunny there, which is pretty funny. I'm going to draw 2 cards. I'm going to get double switch, so I do find some more switching cards. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to really get going too much. But I do have the Jet Energy and the Boss's Order to be able to take a knockout on Hoot Hoot at least. So I can potentially stop the onslaught of the Water Pond, because Water Pond pretty much destroys my board here. So the Jamming Tower plus the knockout on a fan or onto the bench Hoot Hoot here with the Boss's Order is going to prevent double Noctowl from coming down. Which double Noctowl definitely would guarantee the Ogre Pond play, but one can potentially keep it away from me, right? So if you have double access to double Noctowl there, you can always search like the counter Stadium plus the Sparkling Crystal, and then the second Hoot Hoot is going to grab like the Crispin plus something. At least now here, my opponent's going to have to search 3 cards because they need the Crispin, the Sparkling Crystal, and the Stadium Bump, because the Jamming Tower is going to prevent that crystal from getting off. So let's see. So this turn pretty much hinges on my opponent getting down that combo. And we'll see the Cyrano come out, be able to search the deck for 3 EX Pokemon. So most likely Freddy's going to want to grab, yep, there we go, an Eevee, and out to an evolution of Eevee, and then a Pheasantipity EX, which I do have some counterplay because the Eevee doesn't evolve directly into the Evolutions. It's the ability that allows it to do so. So if I can put this Klefki in the active, I can potentially just prevent the Eevee from evolving. So that's something to always think about. But it looks off of the Fezandipity that Freddy is going to be able to search or he's able to draw a copy of Noctowl, which is pretty good. It's going to help him get the rest of his combo here. And then this Buddy Buddy Poffin is going to grab another copy of Hoot Hoot to be able to have an extender for the following turn. Now, this is where things are getting dicey for me. I have to just kind of hope that the play isn't here for the Noctowl. Okay, and I do get lucky here as he's not able to piece it together. And I do top deck the Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking, which is nice. That's going to allow me to either unlock a Pidgeot, which I believe that is what I go for. So let's see. I'm just like kind of mulling over the play here because, yeah, getting the Pidgeot established is pretty good. I can use the Pidgeot to search my copy of Jet Energy if I want to attack with the Mega Lopunny. But yeah, just establishing this Pidgeot is very good in this matchup. It takes a lot of resources for the Flareon deck to knock you out. And just, thinking, because this is a pretty bad spot for me. And then I think the camera just gets bumped here because I change out the battery. And it doesn't really change the camera angle too much. So yeah, I'm going to get the Pidgeot here. Pidgeot is going to search for a copy of... It's a pretty tough decision here because I don't have a Baneri down. So it's pretty tough to just try to get something going here. I think my best play is to potentially just go for an Iono. I could also try to go for like maybe a rare candy. But no, I think I just go for the Buddy Poffin to get another copy of Baneri down. And then let's see, do I have an evolution for Duskull potentially? I don't believe I do. I think I'm just going to take this turn to set up. I think it could have also been fine for me as well to maybe retreat into Klefki. There's not, and maybe I incentivizes Freddy to just Fan Rotom knock out Klefki instead of going for the full Ogerpon play. But yeah, it's looking pretty rough for me here, considering I don't have a lot going for my board at the moment. Like if Freddy here has like a boss's order, or he has the Ogerpon play, it kind of just decimates my board, and that's kind of hard for me to come back. So I see the Area Zero here in the Crispin. Crispin is for sure going to be able to attach energies to that Ogerpon, which makes me think that, oh man, Freddy already has the Crystal in his hand. I could have would also maybe like to see here is like a Burning Charge plus a boss's order. Could have been also potentially nice because Freddy did search that Area Zero. You can go Area Zero on the over the Gravity Mountain, and then you can use the burning. You can crisp into the Flareon Burning Charge onto this guy right here. Attach the energy to Ogerpon, and then like I said, I always have this Klefki stuck into the active, or stuck on the bench, so this thing's always going to be a prize card to eat for the Ogerpon, and then you can just put 100 damage onto Kangaskhan with the Torrential Pump, so take a knockout here, or put damage here, knockout here. So then this thing would have 230 on it, 70 HP left, dies to Fan Rotom. That's an easy 3-prize knockout. That's the 4 prizes Freddy needed to win the game. So I think maybe this Ogerpon is a little bit greedy because it leaves your board a little bit weak. At least that, that way, if I do have, right, evolve into Dusknoir, and then pop it onto Flareon, evolve into Lopunny, and knock out Ogerpon, right? You go down to 3 prizes. You can still go for the Torrential Pump, hit into the Baneri or into the Lopunny, and then knock out Klefki. And now I have 2 things on my bench that are going to be able to be susceptible to the Blood Moon Ursaluna. And then you also go down to 3 prizes. So now you're at 3 prizes. Blood Moon now kills 2 of the 3 prizes on my board. So I can't Turo both of them. So I think that gives you another pretty clean win condition here. So I think the Ogerpon is solid if you don't want me to have the Baneri in play, but I don't really need the Lopunny to win the game from this spot, especially because I can always just go for like an Iono plus a knockout with the knockout Fan Rotom with Dusknoir eventually, and then it kind of leaves a bad board, especially if I'm able to like retreat into Klefki and joust off the Sparkling Crystal, which is what I think is my play this turn, because like I said, Freddy's hand is pretty weak here. So if I'm able to go like Jet Energy, the Klefki into the active, as well as pairing it with an Iono, and there we go. I finally draw an energy card. It's what I've been kind of missing this whole game. Also draw the Night Stretcher for the Baneri, which is pretty crazy. And then, yeah, I'm able to just retreat and then use the Klefki to get rid of the Water Ogre pawn. And then it's going to, I'm pretty sure it just sticks Freddy here. Yep, the Iono is just going to be a little bit too strong. Yeah, the Iono is just a little bit too strong here. I'm able to go for that Pidgeot. Pidgeot is just going to kind of keep my board a little bit stronger. So I take the turn off there to set up the Dusknoir, and now I have a pretty strong turn here where I can kind of just get rid of a lot of the threats on Freddy's board. Namely, his only ways of netting advantage are this Pheasantipity here on the bench and then this Hoot Hoot. So if I'm able to get rid of both of those, it's pretty rough for Freddy to piece together any kind of knockout. Because even like a Blood Moon plus Crispin wouldn't be enough to knock out anything on my board. Draw 2 here off the Kangaskhan. I get the Jet Energy here. Freddy thinks this Ogerpon's dying, but nope. I'm going to counter catcher up that Pheasantipity. And then I think here I use the Blood Moon, or the, not Blood Moon, the Dusknoir to knock out his bench Toot Hoot. And then now from here, I'm able to use the Gale Thrust to knock out Pheasantipity. And now this puts me in a really good scenario because more than likely Freddy doesn't play healing cards. And even if he did, it would just have to be in his hand that I own him into, plus his draw for turn, plus the Dusknoir knockout. And then if not, I have this fully powered up Mega Lopunny plus Prime Catcher to be able to knock out the Ogerpon. It's just game as well. Freddy benches another Hoot Hoot here. Goes for an Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball gets rid of 2 EX Pokemon he's not going to need anymore. And I think he just searches the Noctowl for the following turn to see if there potentially is a comeback. But when you're staring down a Duskull, plus a Pidgeot, plus a Lopunny that has an energy on it, it's pretty rough. And he just passes it back to me. And then, yep, I just have Pidgeot for the Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher is going to knock out Ogerpon, and that's going to be round 1 of the TGS tournament.